Governor Makinde of Oyo State insists the PDP National Chairman Yoja Ayu must quit office. Atiku Abubakar says it has to go through a constitutional process. And Bacon Security Company today released a report stating that over 800 Nigerians died in August in violence-related activities, which is way higher than what was recorded in July of this year. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbaloye in Abuja. We're not going to stop until something changes, and it's on the fact that the ASUU strike needs to end, so the students need to go back to the classroom. So we continue with the countdown. It's just about 215 days since the lecturers went on industrial action, and the union demanding from the federal government. The case has been taken to the National Industrial Court, and some of these demands are not yet met as far as the lecturers are concerned. They're asking questions on some of the commitments made in the past government and that of the present government. Many Nigerians are now looking forward to the stakeholders getting their acts together to resolve what has become a national embarrassment. Well, there has been some shake-up in the politics of People's Democratic Party in Ebonyi State in the southeast region of the country. The Supreme Court today sacked Senator Obinna Ogba and declared Mr. Afanyi Odi as the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Ebonyi State. So he will now fly the party's flag in 2023 governorship election in the state. The Apex Court further struck out the judgment of the Court of Appeal in Abuja, which had declared Senator Obinna Ogba as the governorship candidate. Some interesting perspectives tonight on what is happening in the PDP, and some of the data that we have tonight as far as the security situation in the country is concerned is raising some concerns, and we have some analysis to make on that, and the way forward we'll be seeking tonight. But let's first check some of your political roundup stories.
The Senate Committee on Finance is insisting that the CEO of the NNPC Limited, Mr. Mele Kyari, must appear for the hearing on the 2023 to 2025 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper. The committee chairman, while dismissing the representative sent by the NNPC, states clearly that the Senate will summon the NNPC CEO if need be. He says transitioning into a limited liability company does not make the NNPC no longer answerable to the laws of the country. Governors of northern Nigeria and traditional rulers in the region have called for the amendment of the 1999 Constitution to give legal backing to state police. This recommendation was contained in the communique issued at the end of the meeting of the Northern Governors Forum and the Northern Traditional Rulers Council held in Abuja. The statement is signed by the Director of Press and Public Affairs of the Plateau State Governor, who is the chairman of the Northern Governors Forum, Mr. Makut Macham. The statement goes on to state that the governors and traditional rulers agreed that the only way to tackle the myriad of security challenges affecting the region and the country at large ahead of the 2023 general elections, the Chief Executive Officer of Connected Development, Mr. Hamzat Lawal, is advocating for the electorate in Kogi State to shun vote selling during elections in order to produce credible leaders with capacity to deliver dividends of democracy to the people. Mr. Lawal stated this in Okene Central Senatorial District of the state during a pre-election campaign on the need for the electorate to desist from selling their votes to politicians. He was addressing women and youth groups on the importance of collecting their voter cards.
Today, we're mobilizing was sensitizing and educating people and organizing better to say that with our permanent voters card, we will not only change the course of Nigeria, but the history.
And the socio-political group under the aegis of Coalition of United Political Parties is asking the Independent National Electoral Commission to assure Nigerians of its commitment to conducting free and fair elections. Addressing journalists in Abuja, the spokesperson, Mr. Ikenga Oguchinyere, says it has clear evidence by the ruling All Progressives Congress to rig the 2023 presidential and governorship elections with the recent discovery of fake permanent voter cards with names of foreigners on them. He called on the electoral umpire to ensure free and fair elections in 2023.
Thank you so much, everyone. You've now been served and up to date with some of your political roundup stories. So let's get down to it, everyone. From Lagos yesterday to Oyo State today, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, is on the move. Atiku Abubakar today met with leaders and members and supporters of the PDP in Ibadan. It was that event that Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State demanded that the national chairman of the PDP, Senator Yocha Ayu, must resign from office. Mr. Makinde demanded Ayu's resignation when the Southwest PDP, and the governor said Ayu, when the Southwest PDP met in Ibadan, the governor said Ayu must step down so that Southerners will feel fully included in the party's leadership. Take a listen to Governor Makinde.
The Southwest PDP is asking that the National Working Committee of PDP should be restructured such that what you have in the face of Nigerians right now, which is our candidate is from the Northeast, the PDP national chairman is from the North Central. What was floated a few days back, where they said my brother, Governor Aminu Tambuwa, is the DG of the campaign, is from the Northwest. Maybe that has happened, maybe it has not happened, but he has the quality and the capacity to be the DG of this campaign. There's no doubt about that. But we must resolve the issue of what we have in the face of Nigeria by asking the national chairman to step down so that PDP in the southern part of the country will feel included in the top hierarchy of PDP.
That is Governor Makinde making a demand that is not alien to our ears as far as the PDP crisis is concerned. But when it got to the turn of the PDP presidential candidate, Mr. Atiku Abubakar, is saying that, look, the constitution of the PDP has to be respected and has to be followed through should or if Mr. Ayu must be removed from office. Take a listen to Mr. Atiku Abubakar.
Over time, PDP has developed its constitution, electoral processes, zoning of offices, power sharing, talk about everything which will bring about the unity of the party and the unity of the country. I have no problem from wherever any member of the party comes from, but it must be done in accordance with our constitution, our regulations, and our practices. Therefore, what Governor Seyi is calling for is achievable under our constitution, under our conventions, under our rules, under our regulations, and under our procedures. So those institutions must guide to whatever changes we make. That's why we cannot do anything outside the Constitution unless it is amended.
Atiku Abubakar, former vice president and PDP presidential candidate. Now, beyond whether Mr. Ayu should go, of course, that man we're talking about, we understand now he's jetted out of the country to Europe. Beyond all of that, the other issues, you will imagine online, on social media, it looks as if campaigns have started. If you look at the engagements that have ensued between the supporters of the different political parties and the different enclaves that we've seen in the different political parties, the intensity of the debate and the engagement, you can feel it. It's so thick. And it's just about 2 or 3 weeks before the campaign officially begins. Tonight, one person that has spoken so loudly and so been vocal about the situation in the PDP and perhaps the state of the race will be joining us to speak about generally the state of the race and how ethnicity and religion has played a role and what we should be expecting in the nearest future. But tonight, we have a member of the PDP, a chieftain of the PDP, joining us virtually from Ibadan, Oyo State capital. Is Honorable Adeleke, who joins us virtually from Ibadan to speak on what ensued today in a renewed call for the removal of Senator Yocha Ayu. Thank you so much, Honorable Adeleke, for joining us tonight on the program. Give us a sense of how much of a drawback is this for your party, where a lot of parties and different persons are already talking about issues, how to move the nation forward. Your party is still trying to debate or debating whether Ayu should go or not should go.
Yeah, good evening and thanks for having me. The fact is that we held a meeting today, that's the stakeholders for the Southwest, and the leader of the party in the zone, Engineer Seyi Makinde, reiterated the decision of the Southwest leaders that Senator Yocha Ayu must resign. I mean, for the sake of equity, fairness, and justice. And that's the basis. And for the simple fact that, as you are aware, that when we're talking about the either constitutional issue or whatever, you know, we all know that whenever such issue came up, it sounds so political and unrealistic. But what we are trying to do now is that it's a family affairs, like the presidential candidate said, but it has some political, constitutional undertone. But the fact is that we must do this. The campaign starts by 20th of September. And what we are saying is that Yocha Ayu must resign so that we could just move ahead. And that is the basis for today's meeting. And that's the voice of the Southwest, not the voice of Governor Seyi Makinde. It is the voice of the entire Southwest of the PDP.
But, I mean, in these, I mean, it's established. And perhaps it's not only Governor Seyi Makinde, someone like a member of the BOT, Chief Bode George, has also clamored. He's also asked for that the chairman should go, considering the ethnic and the regional balancing. Now, issue of the Constitution comes to play. And for those who understand how these positions play out, how they happen, the process is leading to people getting into office, you will understand that all of these offices, all of these strata, they come based on regional and regional consideration. So it then means that there will be a chairman from the north, there will be a vice chairman from the north, a vice chairman from the south. Naturally, if the chairman goes, the deputy national chairman from the north takes over from him. There will definitely be a constitutional crisis if only Ayu is removed. This is the argument and the debate some members of your party are putting forward. Is the Southwest of the PDP, like you said, considering what could become a major constitutional crisis for your party?
Look, sure, like I already said the other time, is whenever you are trying to play politics, you come in with unnecessary constitutional issue. So many chairmen have been removed several times, and even if Governor Wike himself will remove his kinsman, secondus, without any constitutional relevance. Of course, there are traditions and there are constitutions. But what we're expecting is that tradition should be in play now. It could be the treaty. That's what we're expecting the our leader.
So that's the point I'm making, Honorable Adeleke, that should Senator Yocha Ayu go, because if your members in the Southwest are saying that they want a representation, because the candidate is from the North, the chairman is from the North, automatically, constitutionally speaking, in your party, if the chairman is removed, another person from the North, from his region, will have to replace him. It doesn't solve your problem, has it?
So this is the issue. You ought to realize that the convention has given the power to the NEC, and the NEC has the power to even decide within the curve of the NEC. They could decide that the deputy national chairman should resign, and while the South should take over. And that's what I expected of the whole scene. We are not saying that the deputy national, like today, the national chairman acted as the chairman of the party at the program today. But nobody raised any objection to that. But we're talking of the moral side of it. We're not talking constitutional side of it. It could be the NEC has such power to dissolve and to do whatever, vested on them by the convention.
An alternative that is obvious is for your party to go into a national convention, an elective national convention. Should you remove him and you don't want a northerner as the chairman, is for you to go into an elective national convention. Can your party afford it, considering that campaigns are going to start? That is a possible option, constitutionally speaking.
Look, everybody, what we are saying is that this is a party that we feel that we need to win the election. Nigerians are yearning for changes. That is the only thing we could do right now, is to make sure that we have something to campaign in the South. The Southwest, we are lack. Okay, what do you want? We have had the issue during the Jonathan regime that we, of course, we allow everything just to move on the way they wanted it to be. But we were shortchanged in political appointment and some other things. But now, if we don't have it right now, we have to correct it before the campaign starts.
So what will happen if we imagine that these things, nothing changes, because the NEC has met and gave a vote of confidence on the national chairman? If you go into the campaign and nothing changes, what will happen?
The vote of confidence passed on Yocha Ayu was, nobody contested it with anybody. We never mobilized. As a matter of fact, some of our people even left the Congress. It was state managed, and we are not bothered about, we are not fighting anybody, we are not trying to wrestle anything. But what we are talking about, the moral side of it, and we want to resign peacefully. It's a family affair. It's a party. We are not fighting the APC. We are fighting, it's the battle of this, it's the issue we are talking about. And what we are just saying right now is that if Ayu will have just been very magnanimous to resign peacefully and give and let the peace reign. But in this situation, some sycophants are moving around the candidate of the party, telling him that he shouldn't resign. For what would they gain?
But could this debacle, Mr. Adeleke, could this debacle cost your party dearly in this election if it's not resolved before the campaign starts? Oh dear, we're having some challenges with the connection there. Well, let's bring in yet another person who is a supporter of Atiku Abubakar. He's a former aide to former President Goodluck Jonathan, Mr. Reno Omokri. He joins us virtually from London. Thank you so much, Mr. Omokri, for joining us tonight. Give us a sense of what you make of the situation within the PDP. And I asked Honorable Adeleke if he thinks that this debacle could cost the party dearly going in. If it's not resolved before the campaign starts.
Well, for the People's Democratic Party, I heard the gentleman talking. He said that Wike removed seconders. And that's the problem. We don't want a party where individuals can remove people. We want a party that the Constitution is supreme, not individuals. And so the presidential candidate has spoken very wisely. He said, listen, let's allow, and he used 4 words, the Constitution, rules, regulations, and procedures to follow. Traditionally in our party, and I've been a member of this party since its origin from 1999, traditionally in our party, when you have a candidate who is from the North, what happens is that if he gets elected, all positions that were previously held by his zone will now revert to the South. But until he's elected, you maintain the status quo. So, I mean, we have the Constitution. If we start acting in an ad hoc manner, it's not going to all go well for us. We need to, because you have to understand, a constitution is a fountain of origin. You know, it's a what they call fonds de origo. You know, so it's a lighthouse that guards a ship to land. Some of the problems that, or rather some of the challenges that the PDP has had in the past is because individuals have had their ways rather than the constitution. So it's necessary at this point in time for us to bring order into the system. What does the constitution say? What do our rules say? What do our regulations say? What does the procedure say? And then we follow through.
The worry of some members of your party is that these internal issues can consume it. I mean, we've seen in the past, 2015, the party was enmeshed in internal issues, and it dragged on and on until it went into the 2015 election, and the PDP lost.
Well, I mean, that's not going to happen this time around. You talked about this fellow who just spoke. He is, would I say, a crony of Governor Seyi Makinde. If you listen to what Governor Seyi Makinde said in Ibadan, he actually called Waziri Atiku Abubakar the incoming president of Nigeria. He already gave his full and total commitment. He said so. So this is a storm in the teacup. You got to look, right now, you've got three major candidates. Of the three major candidates, Atiku Abubakar is the only national candidate. He's the only prepared candidate. If you talk about someone like Peter Obi is a regional candidate, you know, and so there's very, very little opportunity.
What do you mean by regional candidate, Mr. Mokri?
Well, I was going to explain that before you interjected. If you look at it, I'll give you a very good example now. Okay, now, IPOB, they had a sit at home yesterday, Tuesday, September 13th, 2022. Now, Obedience and PW, who normally have things every day in the Southeast, they obeyed that IPOB sit at home. And this is not the first time. Every time, because normally, previously, IPOB used to have it on Mondays. Obedience, they obey. Peter Obi himself obeys it. They've never held anything on the day that IPOB has their sit at home. Now, this shows that they are obeying IPOB rather than our constitution. If you talk about someone like Bola Tinubu, I mean, you saw it on TV. It went viral in Ogun State, where he was giving his basis for contesting this election, for wanting to be president. He said in Yoruba that it was the turn of the Southwest, and Ninu Southwest, Emilio Kom. So that's the basis. It's already a regional basis. Our candidate is the only candidate that's not coming from a regional basis, from an ethnic basis, from a religious basis. He said, I'm a unifier, I'm ready. And if you look at him, the man is ready. Look at what he said at the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Look at he said what he's done in his private life, he's only been able to do for Nigeria. In his private life, look at his businesses. I mean, he's got Rico Gado, which is the largest feed company in Nigeria, employs 2,400 people, very successful. He's got Gotel, which is a large telecommunication company. He's got the American University of Nigeria, Yola, employs 2,700 people. He's got Adama Beverages, you know, they produce waters. He's got Chicken Cottage, and now he's bringing the Nigerian German hospital to Abuja, so where they are building a 250-bed hospital. So you can see that this man is seasoned. So he's not going to be learning on the job. He's ready to go. I mean, and he said so. He said in his first 100 days in office, he's going to have a $10 billion fund for micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises. So this is a national leader. This is a leader that is ready to go. And if you look, Nigeria right now is going through very, very stormy weather. And if you're going through stormy weather, you don't want a pilot who's going to tell you, I know how to fly in stormy weather. You want one who's going to tell you, I have flown in stormy weather. And Atiku Abubakar has flown in stormy weather. He was the chairman of the National Economic Council, 1999 to 2007, where Nigeria paid off her entire foreign debt to the Paris Club, and then also when Nigeria was having her highest, GDP growth rate, 6.7%. And if you see, yesterday, the president, Muhammadu Buhari, was in Imo State, and he was complaining. He said that when he came in, he met crude oil at $38 per barrel. Well, at the time Atiku and Obasanjo paid off Nigeria's debt, crude oil was $22 per barrel, but they paid it off. So we have a candidate that is ready to go.
Now, there is, and I see that you are engaged in that conversation. I mean, it's dirty sometimes, it's hurtful sometimes, and it's the ethnic and the religious politics that is being played. And largely, if the campaigns have not started yet, but yet we can see the engagement is tilting towards this direction. It is healthy for our politics.
Well, it's not healthy, but if you have a candidate like Peter Obi who comes out and then reads an unverified broadcast alleging that he was from Bola Tinubu and saying that the Yoruba should not vote for him because he was from the Southeast and he's Igbo, and as a matter of fact, that broadcast was found out that it was actually from a guy called Powell Glad Legbe, who is an obedient. So, I mean, if you have a candidate, this is somebody at the top of the pyramid saying this, I mean, you cannot expect people who know the truth to keep quiet. They've got to be a fight back and say, no, you can't say this, and which is what a lot of people did. So if you have somebody like Peter B saying that, if you have somebody and people at that very level speaking like that, you've got to set the record straight. We can't say, okay, today is the 14th, we got exactly 2 weeks for the campaigns to start, and then we've been respecting that. But when you have a candidate coming out to say what Peter Obi said, obviously, I mean, people who love Nigeria, people who love the unity of Nigeria are not going to keep quiet. There's going to be a pushback.
So it does look like some of those who are in your party believing that it's going to be a free ride for your party, and those who think that your party members are jittery because of a Peter Obi in the race, who knows your party very well because he ran with your presidential candidate on the same ticket in 2019. It appears there's some jitters. Can you feel it from what people are saying?
There's nothing like that. You know, Peter Obi is just a paperweight politician, and I'm going to prove my point. I mean, this is a man. Look, Nigerians right now, what's happening is that there's a lot of cyberbullying from Peter Obi's supporters, and it's organized. You know, a lot of them are linked to some groups which I'm not going to mention here, and so people are not feeling free to speak up on what they believe because they're afraid of that cyberbullying. When the elections come, you're going to see it. We saw it in Osun State. We saw how, I mean, we won convincingly. Look, for example, Peter Obi talks about moving Nigeria from consumption to production. Yet this man is the single largest individual importer in Nigeria. You go to his 234 next cash and carry. When you walk in, about 90% of the goods there are imported. As a matter of fact, the Central Bank of Nigeria said the reason why Dangote's tomato puree company in Kano was having challenges, if you recall, they had to shut down, they had to shed staff, is because of people like Peter Obi who are importing cheaper foreign products. In this case, it's importing Heinz tomato ketchup and paste. And so those are what are driving the Naira down. They're putting pressure on the Naira down. If you have a candidate like Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, he's manufacturing in Nigeria. That is what we need to increase the value of the Naira. So if you look at all the candidates, take someone like Bola Tinubu, we know he's stinkingly rich, but where is his money coming from? You know, there are issues about his age, there are issues about his parentage, there are issues about his education. We don't have those issues with Waziri Atiku Abubakar. You know, everything about him is very, but he is the most investigated politician in Nigeria, and he's come out clean as a whistle. So listen, we are ready to go. We're going to win this election, you know, it is certain.
Now, if you say there are issues with other candidates, but it does look like you're not seeing anyone with your candidate. For those who have questioned age and competence of those who are running in the race, and you think that your candidate also can't be asked that question. It can't also be put on that pedestal and be questioned about age of those who are contesting in the race.
Of course, he can be put, he can be questioned. When he's questioned, he gives an answer. Bola Tinubu has been questioned. Has he given an answer? So look at that. If you ask Waziri Atiku Abubakar a question on any issue, he gives an answer. Waziri Atiku Abubakar sat down for 1 hour with Arise Television. They brought in their top gun, Ruben Abati, and Mr. Abiola. They interviewed him, and he answered every question. He didn't dodge any. Bola Tinubu has not sat for even a 10-minute interview. So the man is ready. You know, I'll give a very good example. The Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry invited all the 3 major presidential candidates to speak. They gave Waziri Atiku Abubakar a slot. He came at the appropriate time, he spoke, and then he left. What's happened? Today, Peter Obi, who was meant to have been speaking, has postponed his speech. He said, well, I'm postponing the speech. We don't know why. He's going to be speaking on Monday, September 19th. Now, Bola Tinubu has said, okay, he's not ready to speak until October 28th. So right there, you're seeing that, look, this man is ready. He's been circumnavigating the country. You know, I mean, if you look at Peter Obi, he showed political naivety going to foreign countries. I wish diaspora Nigerians could vote, but they can't vote. Now, if you're a politician and then you have an election coming and then you're going to foreign country to foreign country to go and campaign to people who cannot vote, it shows your political lack of wisdom. Waziri Atiku Abubakar has been going around this country. Some states, he's been to those states 4 times, like you just mentioned Ibadan, or your state, he's been to Ibadan 4 times. At least each and every state in Nigeria has been there a minimum of once. So look, we are ready. You know, I mean, we wish the election were tomorrow. We're going to win hands down.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Rano Amokri. Honorable Adeleke has since been back, but we're totally out of time on this segment. But thank you so much, gentlemen, for speaking about your party and your candidate. Thank you indeed. We'll take a break, everyone, and when we return, Dr. Kabiru Adamu will be joining me. There is a report released today. His firm did a research, and there is a report stating that over 800 people died in August of this year due to violence-related activities. Stay with us. We'll be dissecting those issues. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Beacon Security coming in. A security outfit here in Nigeria, led by a former security consultant in the country, Dr. Kabiru Adamu, released a report today which highlights events of August this year, showing a rise in killings from about 500 to 800, to over 800 actually, from July this year to August 2022. There was a jump from the killings, and we'll go through some of the figures so that you can see the comparison of security events from July to August this year, the incidents from 506 to 509. You can see for yourself those incidents, and the abductions. Well, I think it went down in the month of August. The abductions of fatalities jumped from 576 to 859. That is what happened in the month of, the difference between July and August in terms of the security event, the incident, the abductions, and the fatalities. The other events that basically the number of people that are killed or died, rather, to put it correctly, and the people that have died. So by region, the fatalities and the abductions, if you look at it, in the light blue color, is the abduction cases, and the deeper blue color is the fatality indicator. So if you look at it from the southwest to the south-south, you will discover that the northwest region of the country had more abductions in the month of August, and perhaps southeast had the lowest abductions. But if you look at it, the fatality is perhaps more in the northwest it's actually the northeast region of the country. But let's get into a deeper look into some of these figures. Why we have more death in August than we had in July. I think it was in July that the National Assembly threatened to impeach the president, and we seen some increased military and security efforts in the month of August going into September. Dr. Kabiru Adamu joins us live in our studio here. Thank you so much, Doc, for joining us tonight.
My pleasure, Hugh. Good evening.
Give us a sense of that significant jump. Over 500 people to over 800. And these are deaths related to violence, isn't it?
Yeah, all death related. So our coalition does not include safety issues like flooding, as an example, that killed almost about, I think, 300 plus persons, as well as road travel accidents. More people also die from that, so it doesn't include that. Most of the incidents recorded related to gunmen violence, armed conflict between the public security departments and non-state actors, and then other things like crime-related issues. So that's where the coalition comes from. What we've also seen, if we go granular now, is that more of those killings come from raids in rural communities. As you indicated,
raids from bandits,
non-state actors,
yeah. bandits, Boko Haram, terrorists, and all of that.
Name them. So raids in rural communities. Now the interesting thing is we saw an increase in security operations immediately after the Kuje incident in July 5th, and the height of that was really during the month of August. And most of them were very successful. Some new ones, very interesting ones. As an example, I think forest sanity in north-central Nigeria, specifically in Kaduna and Niger State. Forest sanity, the mandate is for the troops to go into the forest and, neutralize, as it were, the non-state actors that are inside those forests. So quite interesting, but unfortunately, what happened was that the non-state actors were dispersed, and the consequence of that dispersal is that they were attacking rural communities and killing rural communities. So unfortunately, that's why you see in the northwest, and to an extent north central as well as northeast, more deaths were recorded than in the month of July.
So if you look at the month-on-month report that you released, and one can see the graph there and how, from the incident to the abductions and the fatalities, you've constructed a map in such a way that it's easy to understand. So that's a month-on-month report highlights there. So it gives us an understanding of what really happened. We saw a fundamental change or increase of around February, March, and April. There was a dip in May. That means there was a reduction. It jumped up in June, slightly up in July, but it went again sharply in August. And so you were given a reason for it. But when we consider the fact that the threat made on the president of impeachment by the National Assembly, there was some reaction. But a lot of people will say in the last 2 weeks, there's been some quiet in terms of the activities of these non-state actors.
The momentum, as it were, is in the hands of our security forces, and this must be acknowledged and commended, actually. That momentum has pushed the non-state actors more or less to be reactive, which wasn't the case previously. In the past, they will attack. So as an example, when you shoot that graph in the month of March, we recorded about 1,400 deaths in 1 month alone. So what it meant, for instance, during that month, they were the one carrying out the momentum. You recall they attacked the train that left Aduda, was going to Kaduna. Several incidents. Immediately after that, there was this incident in Katsina, and then, of course, the height of it was the attack in Kuje. So all during that period, they were kind of taking the initiative and carrying out the attacks. But recently, what we have seen is the security forces going after them. And now it's difficult for them to plan. It's difficult for them, even when they kidnap, it's difficult for them to hold the victims, because the places where they're holding the victims, the security forces are now going into those places and restricting their ability to hold and to operate. So that for me is the major change. And like you indicated, perhaps the backing that has come from politicians and the will, I would say, that has followed that backing has led to that security force action. The other possible reason is perhaps the acquisition of more assets by our security forces. You recall that several assets have been acquired, both by the Nigerian Air Force, by the Army, and to an extent the Navy. So perhaps that too may have led to an increase in this security force action. But we shouldn't restrict the discussion to the military alone. This was what we saw was a collaborated effort between all the security agencies. The police played a key role in terms of several of the security force operations that we monitored. To an extent, the other paramilitary organizations also played that role. The DSS too, both in terms of intelligence and, I must say, the NIA.
What do you think may have changed? Some people are commenting saying, look, the president seems to have said something that is not said before.
In July, we recorded 3 National Security Council meetings. That is unprecedented. I cannot remember any month where, at least in the Fourth Republic, when 3 National Security Council meetings was held. In the last National Security Council meeting, there was a clear directive from Mr. President to the security forces, go after these guys, and unfettered. There was no limitation to the the directive.
And you can see that, I mean, more than before, the military will come out at least twice in a week to say, we went after these, and these are the number of people. We killed this leader. It does look to me there was an incremental action, and the results were also coming. I mean, the body language, it worked, isn't it? The pressure from the National Assembly, it seems to have done some work also. And also, it does look to me, I may be wrong, that there seems to be some encouragement and some boldness in the hearts of the security agents. Because you wonder, what has changed?
Yeah, you've mentioned the role by the political class. starting from Mr. President himself and the National Assembly. So on the one hand, I would say there was a little bit of stick when there was that attempt, to initiate a process for the impeachment of Mr. President, even though it was, neither here nor there. But I think the message had been sent. And then immediately after that, we also saw the National Assembly, both at the level of the Senate and then the House, inviting security chiefs, discussing with them, giving them support, and also encouraging them, in fact, in a very subtle manner, telling them that if you don't do your work, then there will be consequences. And so we saw that reaction from the security forces. One thing that I would say from a strategic point of view is the concerted effort that we've seen from the political class, from the technocrats, and then from those in the field.
It looked somewhat like Nigerians were tired. Both the ones in uniform and the ones in khaki and the ones in plain uniform. That everybody seems to have been tired of
the wake-up call was the Kuje incident and the reaction of the international community. We must also mention that the international community, starting from I think the U.S. Embassy and several other diplomatic missions, did release alerts and advisories that indicated the capital was not safe. And so that was a wake-up call. You cannot have a situation where...
It seems things have changed.
Definitely.
We saw attacks in Kuje, Buhari. Those threats were there. And these are the fringes of Abuja.
Exactly.
In fact, these are where most people who work in the city, where they live. I mean, there are more population in these areas compared to the city itself.
Now, we did give a list of activities that were initiated by the Minister of the FCT. That must be commended too. He convened severally during the month of both July and August, the security committee that he chaired, and came out with several actions. So for instance, in our July report, we did indicate locations where we know that these gunmen were hibernating. And so in August, we saw clearance operations in those locations. And then the thick bushes that were surrounding those areas were also cleared during that period. And then, of course, he also approved some funds for the commencement of what they call the G7 operations. The G7 operations would include troops from the FCT as well as the contiguous states.
Does the FCT minister have any powers under the law? Just like, is he a security commander in the state? I mean, in the FCT, considering the fact that you have a president also within the same territory compared to state governors.
I know he chairs a committee, security committee, and everything I've mentioned was taken at the level of that committee.
There is a commissioner of police of the FCT.
As a member of that committee, and I think the military too, the Guards Brigade probably, and several others of the security department. It's possible that the results or the outcome of that committee would be taken to perhaps each organization would seek approval from their leadership. Possibly.
I mean, it's on a day like this that I'm not excited because people are being killed, but I am full of praise for our military men and women who are risking their lives every day. And it's on a day like this that we will say thank you to them. We will say kudos to their family members for standing by them for this job they are doing. If there is a failure, we will say. If there is an improvement, I think it's also good to say kudos to them if there is an improvement. We just hope that things will be improved upon, and these, the president called them fraudulent. I mean, it does look like he doesn't believe in the name of Boko Haram. He said these guys are fraudulent, they are frauds. I mean, so that they can be cleared out of our land, so that Nigerians can live in peace.
There are two words that I would like to kind of emphasize.
Yeah.
Coordination and cooperation. We've seen an increase in that, both in terms of intelligence, the gathering of intelligence, the sharing of intelligence, and then at the operational level. When we talk about the security operations, it was a coordinated effort between both the military and the several other security forces. So that commendation, I think, should go to all the security agencies, especially, and I want to emphasize this, the role of intelligence, both in terms of human intelligence and technical intelligence. Now, you talked about sustainability, and I think that is where perhaps in our report, we've highlighted several areas where sustainability, for us to achieve it, we need to do a lot of things. The gap between the federal government and the state government, we need to close that gap. Earlier on, I spoke about that the non-state actors were attacking persons in rural areas. That's the gap. We need to close that gap, increase the protection. And it's not the role of the military, as it were. We need to enhance protection. One of the things that we must discuss as a country is the decentralization of security. Now, most people talk about state policing. It could be, an interpretation of that decentralization, or it could even mean the reducing administrative decisions to the state level as against leaving it at the federal level. If we borrow from the US system, then perhaps the state policing and even community policing and even taking it down to constituencies, we must talk about that.
I'd like to get what you make of the arrest of Malam Mamu, who was arrested in Egypt, who was on his way to Saudi Arabia, and it's been taken to court. And the DSS has come out that there were a lot of incriminating evidence against him. What do you make of those go-betweens, those negotiators, and what the DSS is saying?
So negotiation is a skill, a professional one. It's not just anybody that goes into negotiation. And there are principles for which you go into negotiation. I like to describe Mr. Mamu as a man that wears many caps. And depending on which cap you want to analyze him with, you could reach different conclusions. But the reality is that he entered a field that unfortunately he was not trained to be in it. So as an example, we know he's a journalist, a publisher. We also know that he's closely associated with Sheikh Gumi, so that makes him perhaps a cleric. We also know that he was, to an extent, a negotiator. Then there's the allegation, which is where DSS is going, that he was a benefactor. And then, of course, he was also a collaborator. So those last two are dangerous in the sense that you cannot be a negotiator and benefiting from the proceeds of the negotiation. Now, you can agree, for instance, to a payment. That payment can never be as part of the ransom. And I think that is where the allegation is. Again, in my earlier submission, I talked about coordination and cooperation. So we know his arrest was not done just by one agency. It included several facets of the Nigerian
strategy there.
Intelligence community, actually, including the external one and the internal one. So again, these are things that we need to commend the security departments. They've worked together. And we also know that there was perhaps a request from a foreign government which showed that he was a person of interest, not just in Nigeria. Now, all of these are things that will be proven in court. And so that's, if I'm going to call on especially the DSS, is to ensure that the evidences are gathered in a manner that it will be convincing. I mentioned that he wears many caps. Now, if the DSS doesn't do that, present the evidence in a very transparent manner in such a way that the first two caps I mentioned, the journalist cap that he wears and the religious cap are silenced, then we're likely to have a situation where the government would be in a defensive position.
Let me take on about three of the diagrams and the slides that we have here. And I'm a bit bothered about the state fatalities figures and the pictures that we have, and that of the state abductions. Let me go to the state fatalities first and foremost. If you look at the diagram, not this one, please, the state fatalities, where we have all the states aligned in, okay, well, this is the abductions. This seems someone is mixing things up. But, well, let's stay on these for a moment. You see that Borno State has, okay, something is going wrong. Go to state abductions. That's what I'm talking to. Borno has the highest, 104. Kaduna has the second highest in state abductions in the month of August from your report, 64. If we look at the state fatalities for the month of August, Borno has 349. He's leading in that, not for a good reason. Kaduna 279. What was going on in that respect?
One word: non-state actors.
But one would think that those activities in the Northeast had been silenced.
To an extent, but what we did is to dislodge them, and so they are moving around, and they're not just moving around, they are angry, angry at both the government and the people, because of course the people have not been supporting them. And so what they do is when they go to rural communities, they kill at will. Remember, they are armed. Remember, they are also very angry. And so that's why we're seeing that type of killings, unfortunately, in those two locations. And I mean, it's ironic that those two states are states that have presence of both, you know, the terrorists as well as the bandits, especially for Kaduna State.
One last one is the regional fatalities, the map of Nigeria and how some of these activities have gone on. And one that is worrisome is the Northeast region, where you have 404 out of the 800, over 800 fatalities reports captured in your report, followed by the Northwest region and the Southeast actually followed. So one would think the hotbed would have been Northeast and the Northwest, but Southeast is out here for a wrong reason. And the Southwest seems to be a bit calmer, and South 39, the North Central 94.
So the most remarkable kind of improvement has came from the North Central. At the beginning of the year, first quarter, second quarter, what we saw is consistently North Central leading, followed by the Northwest, or sometimes Northwest leading, and then followed by the North Central. For this month, the month of August, we saw a remarkable improvement in the North Central, leading it to the third position. We're also closely monitoring developments in the Southeast. Like you indicated, the Southeast has come third. But what is even more interesting, Shehu, is if you put the North together, they represent 80% of the killings that have occurred in the month of August. So what that says, if we're able to work on the North, we will essentially be able to reduce 80% of the death and fatalities in the country. The Southwest consistently has represented the lowest fatalities in the country. So we need to look at the security architecture in the Southwest and ask the critical question, what is the Southwest doing that is working for it? And the answer is in intelligence. There is a concerted effort between the government and the people, and they are working together, both especially in the terms of the intelligence, and they are using that to block threats before they become the monster that we've seen in the Northwest.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kabiru Adamu, for your thoughts, and kudos to your team for bringing this out. So it brings out something, transparency, accountability, and also making Nigerians vigilant to be able to keep account of some of these things, and we can monitor how things are going. Thank you so much indeed for coming.
Thank you very much for having me. I just want to emphasize, just like you said in your closing remark, this is a tool. It's a tool that can help our security agencies in understanding what they're doing rightly and what they're doing wrongly. So I hope that they see it in that manner.
I may not be a military man trained in the art of war, just like the usual way that the military greet themselves. But when we see something that is of good manner and something that is good, one will want to borrow the way of the military. By tonight, saluting those are bold and courageous military men and security operatives in the line of fire, risking their lives every day. Things are getting better from the report that we have seen. We want you to keep it on and flush these deadly and these fraudulent elements out of our country. Thank you so much indeed, everyone, for watching. I'm Sean Okimale. Bye for now.